Welcome once again to Commander by Danon. Today's video was brought to us by Patreon supporter Brett. Huge thanks to Brett and the rest of my Patreon supporters. Brett reached out asking for a deck for his friend Amber, and this request was what started this whole week. All week, we've been making monocolored decks based around cards that break the maximum card rule. You see, Amber wanted a deck led by Bruvac, the Grandiloquent, so I decided it should be a persistent Petitioners deck. This is her first ever commander deck, and Amber apparently wants to draw blood. So I decided to make the deck a bit mean. Apologies to any of Amber's friends who wind up playing against this deck. Also, and I know it's annoying to keep hearing this, but statistically if I don't ask you to like and subscribe, the video gets fewer subscribers. Bruvac the Grandiloquent is a 3-mana 1/4 legendary human advisor. If an opponent would mill one or more cards, they mill twice that many cards instead. Persistent Petitioners are a 2-mana 1/3 human advisor. We may pay 1 and tap them. If we do, target player mills a card. We may also tap 4 untapped advisors we control in order to make target player mill 12 cards. Additionally, a deck can have any number of cards named Persistent Petitioners. Okay, so we wanted to get as many of these guys on the battlefield in order to tap them down and mill out one of our opponents. We'll also want ways to protect our board and, if we're feeling particularly vicious, ways to untap all of our Petitioners. But since we're running 30 Persistent Petitioners in the deck, we may have to make some adjustments to our handy-dandy checklist. What checklist? I'm glad you asked. Normally, to build a functional commander deck, I recommend following a checklist, especially if your deck is a new archetype. Something like this. 50 mana sources, usually split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, 10 pieces of card advantage, 8 to 10 pieces of spot removal, 2 to 3 board wipes, 2 pieces of graveyard hate, and 1 sudden I win card. But this deck will be a little skewed due to the number of Persistent Petitioners. Now, before we get to our deck list, a quick word from our sponsor, Ultimate Guard. Ultimate Guard is now the official partner of Wizards of the Coast, and as such, they're able to print official art on all their playmats, including this gorgeous mat featuring art from Bloomborough. The card is Dawn's Truce, and as you can see, it is beautiful. The mat is surprisingly thick and much smoother than many other playmats I've used. Find out if your local game store carries Ultimate Guard products, or click the link in the video description to go to their Amazon store. Oh, one more quick announcement before we get started. I'm currently streaming with my son over on Gaming with Danon as well as Twitch. It'll mostly be Final Fantasy XIV, but you're more than welcome to pop in and talk about Commander. Honestly, about half my streams are talking about manga, anime, or Commander. For lands, we're running War Room, Temple of the False God, Reliquary Tower, Scavenger Grounds, and 29 islands. Pretty straightforward. Our mana ramp consists of Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Mox Amber, Mind Stone, Felwar Stone, Thought Vessel, Sapphire Medallion, Caged Sun, Wayfarer's Bauble, Kefnit's Monument, Throne of Eldraine, Gilded Lotus, and Thrawn Dynamo. A good mix of mana rocks and cost reducers. For card advantage, we're running Drown in Dreams, Windfall, Solve the Equation, Mass Appeal, The Immortal Sun, and Heuristic Study. That's right, dear viewer, there is a game changer in this list, which means this deck is a Bracket 3 upgraded. Our interaction and spot removal package consists of Counterspell, Negate, Arcane Denial, Mana Drain, Pongify, Rapid Hybridization, Narset's Reversal, Tormod's Crypt, Grafdigger's Cage, and Soul Guide Lantern. Gotta make sure if the cards get milled, they stay milled. For board wipes, we're running Evacuation and Cyclonic Rift. Gotta love bouncing everything back to our opponent's hands. The core of our deck consists of Unstoppable Plan, Thrumming Stone, Soulless Jailer, Spark Double, and Helm of the Host. Oh, and 30 copies of Persistent Petitioners, of course. Now that we have our deck list, let's compare it to our checklist. 46 mana sources, split between 33 lands and 13 pieces of ramp. Light, I know, but we're a monocolored deck and our curve is very low, so it's fine. 6 pieces of card advantage, 10 pieces of interaction, 2 board wipes, 4 pieces of graveyard hate in Scavenger Grounds, Grafdigger's Cage, Soul Guide Lantern, and Tormod Script, 2 Sudden I Win cards in Helm of the Host and Spark Double. Let's go take a look at Bruivac the Grandiloquent again. He doubles mill effects. Double is one of my favorite words in Magic. But here's the question. Do you know what happens when you double a double? That's right, quadruple. So when we use Persistent Petitioners to tap 4 of our advisors, our opponents don't mill 12, they mill 48. And Helm of the Host and Spark Double allow us to create non-legendary copies of our commander, which means milling grows exponentially. In fact, if we can get 3 copies, all milling is doubled 3 times, or 2 to the third, or times 8. Which means if we tap 4 Persistent Petitioners, we force someone to mill 96 cards. But Danon, several people, including some of your own patrons, have cards like Kozilek Butcher of Truth or Ulamog the Infinite Gyre in their decks specifically to combat mill effects. How do you beat them? Remember, dear viewer, a mill deck doesn't win by milling. A mill deck wins when an opponent has no cards left in their library and they go to draw a card. This causes that player to lose the game. So if we've reduced someone down to only having their Eldrazi Titan in their library, we just cast Windfall and then drink up their sweet, sweet tears. Now Amber, I know you're new to Magic, so I wanted to welcome you. You have a few counterspells in the deck. You might be tempted to use them as soon as an opportunity arises, but you will have to learn to control that impulse. The counterspells in this deck are here for 2 reasons. To protect our Persistent Petitioners from getting destroyed by a board wipe, or to stop someone else from comboing off and winning the game. So be sparing with your counter magic. Be patient, build your board, then force someone to cry when you dump their library into their graveyard. I hope you have lots of fun with this deck. What about you? Do you have a Persistent Petitioners deck? What's your secret deck tech, and who's your commander? Leave a comment below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cutestuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits at gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. You can have a video made or just ask for help building or tuning a deck list. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Muffins, Marcus, Brett, Roxy, Alix, Borgie, Nazwin, Conga, Chris, Robert, William Pye, Kazaris, Booksu, Patrick, Tiz, Art, Richard, Sint, Boomy, Jackie, Finn, Zen, Ashura, Justin, and Christian. You guys are awesome. I post new Commander Deck videos every weekday, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Danon.